So good morning. My name is Jody McLeod. I'm the mayor of the town of Clayton. Very excited to be here today and to welcome the United States Environmental Protection Agency to Clayton, North Carolina. At this time, I'd like to recognize Congressman Wiley and EPA Administrator Michael Regan. Thank you both so much for coming to Clayton today. Welcome. The Sam's Branch Water Reclamation Facility is the largest capital investment in the town of Clayton's history. This momentous project that you see all around you today wouldn't be possible without the visionary leadership of our town council and our amazing staff. And I'd like to especially thank today our town manager, Rich Coppola, for all of his tremendous efforts in pushing this project forward, and Lewis Duffy for the amazing work that he is doing on behalf of the town of Clayton for project management. My appreciation to both of you. Thank you all for being here today, and at this time I'd like to turn the microphone over to Congressman Nickel. Welcome. My pleasure.
All right, hello, welcome everyone. Wiley Nickel, I represent North Carolina's 13th District. Thank you so much for the introduction, Mayor McLeod. I'd like to start off by welcoming EPA Administrator Michael Regan back to the great state of North Carolina. During my time in the State Senate, I had the chance to partner with then North Carolina DEQ Secretary Michael Regan on a number of important issues related to the environment and our natural resources. In fact, this is not the first time that I have hosted him for a tour of my district. As a North Carolina senator, I invited him to visit a great cutting-edge water treatment research facility in my district. So this is our second tour together. And even before that, he was gracious enough to meet with me. We had breakfast. You remember that great breakfast, just to talk about how we can do more to help protect our environment. Protecting our environment, investing in clean water, public transportation, those are things that are so important to me for this district. And just on Tuesday, I was on Air Force One with the president, used my time not to talk about anything other than the specific things that we need right here in North Carolina's 13th District, and that was wastewater treatment and transportation infrastructure. Important priorities for me, and I'm so glad to be here on this important occasion. Now, a few years later, after serving in the legislature, now I'm grateful to have Michael Regan, a member of the White House cabinet, here to highlight the important water infrastructure needs in North Carolina's 13th District, including right here in Clayton and the future site of the Sam Branch Water Reclamation Facility. This facility, currently a construction site that we were able to tour today, will be capable of treating 6 million gallons of wastewater per day. The water output will feed into the Neuse River, which in the early 2000s was one of the most endangered and polluted rivers in the United States. Our region has made tremendous progress on improving and protecting the quality of water in the river, which so many industries and households depend on. The Sam Branch Facility project is funded in part by federal dollars that help small communities and rural communities afford infrastructure improvements that otherwise would stretch their budget too thin. This project will allow us to protect the river's future and all that rely on the river for drinking water, recreation, fishing, and much more. I'm very glad to be here with EPA Administrator Michael Regan for a big announcement and to support priority water infrastructure projects just like this one. Federal investment in America's water infrastructure matters for North Carolina's 13th District. This is an investment that's good for business, it's good for public health, and it's good for the continued growth of our local communities. I look forward to partnering with federal, state, and local officials to access this transformational federal investment that will support the economic and environmental health of our communities right here in North Carolina's 13th District. As your representative in Congress, I'm committed to making sure that our community has the resources it needs to thrive. I'll keep fighting for access to clean water and building a healthy environment for our kids. Listen, I'm a dad, I've got 2 kids, and I think that my kids and your kids deserve to grow up and create their own healthy environment with clean water for generations to come. Again, I'm so grateful to celebrate these very important investments to help protect our environment and to have EPA Administrator Michael Regan here with us today. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Jim, a constituent in the 13th District and a local farmer in Clayton. Jim, come on up.
Good morning, guys. It's been a while since I stood in front of a podium to speak. I'm a regional member of the Environmental Justice Network out of Warren County, North Carolina, where the environmental justice movement was created. We worked on the detoxification of an environmental injustice in our neighborhood. We made the governor live up to his promise to clean our community up and to, facilitate agreement. Today, 20 years later, I stand in Clayton, North Carolina, at a state-of-the-art water facility that's going to be with a capacity to serve the community. At Neuse River Basin. As the Native Americans called the Neuse River, Go-Ta-No, meaning River of Peace. The River of Peace is 250 miles in length and encompasses a watershed of 6,235 miles. Water is a public trust we all must protect. My ancestors lived on the water of North Carolina for over 250 years. They had an abundance of fish and aquatic life that was good food to them. Today, does the river have eatable fish that you would enjoy? Without clean water, we will lose everything. It's a pleasure to welcome Mike back home. North Carolina is his home. It's a pleasure to see somebody from North Carolina directing the EPA. A lot of things have changed from 30 years ago when the trucks of PCB were rolling into Warren County. People were standing up. We had state troopers there. We had National Guards there. I was a young college kid trying to raise my kids and try to stay out of the front of a press conference. But that's about all I have to say. And again, Wiley Nichols, welcome home. Welcome to your district. Thank you for doing what you're doing to your district. Mike, thank you for doing what you're doing for this district. The water means a lot to me, as my family was affected greatly. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Mike.
Well, thank you, Jim, for that introduction. It's an honor to join Jim and talk a little bit about that history in Warren County and his service to his community. So, Jim, thank you for that introduction. It's also, I'm grateful to have the opportunity just to see this incredible work that's happening here at Sam's Branch Water Reclamation Facility. Representative Nickel, thank you again for welcoming us to your district. And thank you for your continued leadership for the state of North Carolina. Started in North Carolina, now he's joined me in Washington, D.C. This district could not have any better representation. Mayor McLeod, thank you today for joining us and for welcoming us here. I appreciate your commitment to the community. 2 decades. 2 decades he's been here to lead in this community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Louis Duffy, for that facilitated conversation about this facility. It's a grand project. You got your hands full, multi-millions of dollars in just a short amount of time, so thank you. Thank you for that conversation. You know, as EPA Administrator, I've had the privilege to travel all across the country. I've seen big cities and small cities, rural towns and communities, and everything in between. I've had countless conversations with people from all backgrounds. And time again, I hear constantly about the nation's aging water infrastructure and how it impacts people's lives, just like Jim just described. And wastewater management has been an ongoing challenge since the start of modern civilization. And effective wastewater management begins with thoughtful and reliable infrastructure. Clean water is essential for healthy people, thriving communities, productive agriculture, and economic prosperity. Yet all across our country, our water systems are strained, and they have been for far too long. When these water systems fail, it threatens the security, it threatens the peace of mind, and it affects communities and impacts every aspect of our society. So we can no longer turn a blind eye to these challenges. We must no longer leave our communities behind, many of them whom are underserved and overburdened, to deal with these complex challenges. We must act aggressively, and we must act immediately. And investing in water infrastructure is investing in America. So today, on behalf of President Biden and his leadership and his vision, I'm thrilled to announce that through this year's Clean Water State Revolving Fund, EPA is providing over $775 million to states, tribes, and territories all across this great country from the fiscal year 2023 Consolidated Appropriations Act. The funding will help communities across this country with upgrades to essential wastewater and stormwater infrastructure and lead to the creation of approximately 12,000 good-paying jobs. For North Carolina, in this year alone, that means over $13 million in clean water investments to flow to communities all across the state, just like Clayton. At EPA, we know that investing in water infrastructure is one of the best bets that we can make to protect public health and safeguard the environment while stimulating local job creation and laying a strong foundation for economic vitality. And the bipartisan infrastructure law is making the single largest investment in water infrastructure from the federal government ever. This year alone, thanks to President Biden's leadership and thanks to Congress's leadership, over $3.2 billion will be provided to the Clean Water State Revolving Fund in combination with this year's bipartisan infrastructure law funding. So far, at EPA, we have provided over $5 billion, billion with a B, for drinking water and wastewater infrastructure improvements nationwide. Additionally, we're rolling out our robust technical assistance program that enables underserved and disadvantaged communities to access their fair share of this historic investment. This includes a $150 million investment through our Wastewater Technical Assistance Partners program that supports communities here in North Carolina and across 20 states, tribes, and territories. At the start of this administration, President Biden committed to improving our nation's water systems and providing the resources necessary to mitigate non-point source pollution and address key challenges like climate change and PFAS. President Biden's administration is working to build a future where water infrastructure is resilient in the face of climate change. A future where every child in this country can safely play in the waters of their local rivers and streams without fear of hazard and harm. A future where wastewater is collected, treated, and repurposed safely and efficiently, ensuring that our precious natural resources are conserved for generations to come. Together, we can and we will build a healthier, brighter future for all. While we certainly have our work cut out for us, that work starts with communities like Clayton, leaders that are standing behind me, and let me assure you that along with President Biden, we won't stop until we finish the job. Thank you all so much.